welcome back to Blog City Trinities.
Hey.
And thanks so much for watching our last video. We hope that you'll continue to watch this video and the other videos to come. You know, it's nice to know that we have supporters. Thanks.
It's a handful.
Thanks to the people that reached out to. Because my voice is a little not too pleasant today. Jason will be doing most of the talking, but basically in this video we'd like to just talk a little more about the NOC, also the ECA and the exams, the English exams. So I know I'm hitting you all with some abbreviations, so let's just
Clear
it up, right? So
Alright, we did. Alright, so the CIC. CIC stands for Citizenship and Immigration Canada. Now, every single immigration issue that Canada goes through Citizenship and Immigration Canada, CIC. This process is called the Express Entry, which is under the purview of CIC. Alright? The next abbreviation is NOC, which stands for National Occupational Classification. That's the same thing we asked you all to look at last week to find your job title as it would be in Canada. Alright? The other thing we're going to look at today is another abbreviation called ECA, Educational Credential Assessment. That basically is taking your educational credentials, applying to an institution up here that basically accredits the degree to Canada standards. The last thing is CELTIP and IELTS. Those are the English exams that you can take well, you have to take actually. You have to take one of them. It's mandatory and you have to pass it. Right? A little later we'll show you how that English exam is your best ticket to getting your CRS score right up.
through the roof.
Alright? So we're gonna start with the NOC and just touch that a little bit because we spoke about it last week. So we're gonna just touch it again today. A couple of people reached out to us and they asked what NOC they could use, and my advice to them was look at your
Job description.
Correct. So you're looking at your job description and you're looking and you're basically typing it into the little box that they provide to search for the NOC. Now for us back in Trinidad we were clerks. Alright? So all is a government position and they just call it clerks, right? But it encompassed a lot of administrative work, some customer service and some other things. So our job description was very lengthy. Alright? Within that job description now we could find an NOC. We found an NOC that was more than enough that we could use. We use an administrative NOC. You remember the number? Right. So offhand, it's a little really remember the number, but basically it was administrative, and that was a B. All right. You can look at the job functions and compare it to the NOC job functions that they give you, and look for your B's, your A's, and your zeros. All right. NOC is very important. C's don't count. They wouldn't get you anywhere. All right.
Alright, so like just stemming off of that, right? So basically, whatever NOC you put in, it must match your job description. Right. Because when you actually have to submit your documents, you need to get a letter from your job, from your workplace, right? So your workplace would basically list out your functions.
It has to be detailed.
Yeah, it has to be very detailed. So they will basically list out your functions, how long you've been working, and how many hours, because permanent versus temporary. I wouldn't say temporary, part-time. Yeah. So they are permanent hours. Well, not permanent. Full-time and part-time. Yeah. So basically, but just keep in mind you need to get a letter from whatever company that you work for.
Right. And it has to match the job description detailed by the NOC. Alright? Alright. So moving on. The second part of this is something called the Educational Credential Assessment, ECA. What the ECA is basically the CIC's way of assessing degrees, certificates, masters, PhDs that were attained outside of Canada. once you have a degree or any certificate attained outside of Canada, it has to be assessed by one of the registered and authorized CIC equivalency assessment agents. Now,
what we'll do is we'll actually put a link in the description on the site where
CIC site.
CIC site. They actually list a couple. Jason will call out the names now, but we'll still put the link in the description so you all could check it out.
Right. So I'm reading from the site here. So University of Toronto is one. And the International Credential Assessment Services of Canada is another one. World Education Services, they abbreviate that, and that's called WEST. That's a very popular one. International Qualifications Assessment Services, IQAS. That's the one we use.
Yeah.
Now we'll tell you why. International Credential Evaluation Service. That's all. There are no more. If it doesn't hit this list, and you pay for it, it probably wouldn't count.
Yeah, because CIC wouldn't recognize any other institutions other than what Jason just called out. So basically we use IQAS because we had multiple credentials to assess, and when I said multiple, we had our associate and our bachelor's. So with IQAS, they were actually very reasonable. Well, they were the more economical option because we could they would assess the both
for one price.
for one cost, yeah.
Right. So West was doing it as well, but they were charging us
Per
per credential. Now, when this is an Easter egg, so this one is very important. So listen up carefully to this. The difference between one educational credential and more than one educational credential, and we learned this, is a lot of points. You know what? Remember what exactly?
I can't remember exactly, but I know that we weren't even,
Right. So the first time we built our profile, we built it with our degree alone.
Yeah.
And we got something like 398 points. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 398. And then we added a sibling. A sibling in Canada points as well too. So we added a sibling and it went up a little bit. That's a story for
15 points to be exact.
15
yeah.
points for a sibling. And then when we got back the educational credential assessment from West, we did it with IQAS, sorry. They accredited our associate and our degree. The associate was accredited as a 2-year program, full accreditation, and the degree was accredited as a full degree, 3-year accreditation. 3 or 4-year accreditation.
Yeah.
So that means where the drop down, there's a drop down that says you have one degree or more than one certificates. If you put more than one certificate, you are going to get more points. So I want to just throw a shout out.
That's given that you have an associate or even a diploma and a bachelor.
Or a master's.
Or a degree and a bachelor's and a master's.
Right. So I want to personally give a shout out to Costa, because when we did our associate with Costa way back in 2009 or something, we didn't know that
it would stand for
anything. And almost a decade later, their
through.
program was critiqued by by IQAS, a Canadian equivalency assessment agency, and it stood up. So pick up the Costa.
Yeah,
right? Throw that in there.
Yeah.
Right. So anything else on education?
Right. So this other point, why we went with IQAS, we basically said, we're not rushing it because IQAS it took us like 5 months to get back a response.
Right.
Yeah. So if you want something quickly, I think West does it in like a month or something. But basically you pay.
Right.
Right? Yeah. So that's just something to note.
Right. So point to note, this is probably going to be the longest wait for anything in the process, the entire process. So if you do your CRS score and you get it and it's good, and good being probably closer to like 450 or there was a poll Wednesday, it was 471 and it took like 4,500 people. If you get it close to that,
Like
anything up 460, 470, you have a chance. The first thing you need to do, and do it immediately, is your education credential assessment, because that is going to slow you down the most. because you can't build your profile until you get back that, because I think there is a code that they give you that you have to put into the profile that you have to build.
When you're creating your profile.
Yeah.
And you can't create a profile unless you have the assessment, the equivalency assessment, and the exam, the English exam.
Right.
So you must have the results from that. So like my advice would be book IELTS, and because most of our people go based in Trinidad, so you'll probably be doing IELTS, right? So book IELTS and the equivalency assessment like the same time, so you'll get back the results around the same time. Yeah, don't do like us, because we did CELPIP, right? So initially we did CELPIP. And the difference with CELPIP and IELTS is CELPIP speaking, you're actually speaking to a computer. Right. So I had a really hard time. So I would look at the computer, I would start speaking and then I would stop. And with the speaking exam, you have to be very, very fluent. So you can't stop. You can't afford to stop, because when you stop, you lose points. So that was my downfall with CELPIP.
Right. I think with CELPIP, so the fact that you have to speak into a computer, with Trinidadians, although we can speak good English when we want to, we speak very fast, and you're going to notice that whenever you make it to Canada, US, wherever, if you travel, you know that we have to slow down to a crawl for them to understand us.
Yeah.
So speaking to the computer is the same thing. You need to slow down, you need to speak, you need to articulate, and that is probably why IELTS is better for us.
Yeah, because with IELTS, you actually have a person that you speak to. So the person will ask you, the examiner will ask you questions and you answer. So I was literally fluent. I had no problems with IELTS at all. I was very comfortable. I was actually speaking to somebody, so I could have seen the facial expressions, it was way more comfortable for me.
Right.
And I remember when we booked IELTS, it was December, and we got the next available date was April.
Right.
Yeah, so
what we want you all to do is pay particular attention to the English exam, because everything else in your profile is basically fixed. The age is fixed, it's going to go up. We talk about age just now. Your education, you can't change that unless you do a program which is going to take time.
Yeah.
Your marital status, your children, your savings, you could save a lot more money, but that doesn't count for that much. The IELTS, the English exam only holds one thing. It's variable, and you can change it. You can control, and it counts for a lot.
Yeah.
Because when we did CELPIP, we got our points up to
428.
428 or something.
Yeah.
And we did the IELTS. We did the IELTS. We did the IELTS once. So we did it, and our grades were good.
It went up to like
and it went up to 475.
Yeah, 475.
475. That's the difference the English exam can make.
Yeah.
So that exam is critical.
So focus on that exam.
Focus on it. There's a lot of practice online.
Yep.
A lot of practice. So it comprises of 4 components. Speaking, which we just touched on. So the IELTS in Trinidad, you speak to a human. Yeah. So you have a conversation. It's very informal, but it's still structured. Writing. So you have to write like a essay, a couple small essays. Nothing too long, but it has to be well written. This is your chance to show how well you can write. Bring that English A and B back to the front. Listening and reading. It sounds simple, but
you really have to pay attention.
You have to pay attention. Listening goes fast, and it's like a dictation, but they have specific answers they're looking for, and you need to get it. And if you get less than, your points go down quickly basically. So 1 wrong and 2 wrong, it adds up, and you're gonna lose a lot of points. Yeah.
So you wanna try to get aim for the highest tier, which is I think they call it a band 8. So I think that's some good tips there.
Yeah. So
I wish somebody had told me that before.
Focus on the English exam. It's expensive. That's the next thing. It's expensive, so don't take it lightly. Pay your money, study. It is going to change, affect your score.
Yep.
Positively or negatively,
yeah.
It's going to affect your score. Alright, so focus on your IELTS, focus on yourself.
Alright, so I think that's it for this video. Next video we'll go more into
Yes.
the process. I'll put a couple links in the description so y'all can hit it and probably do some reading. If y'all have any questions, feel free to reach out. I know some of you have been.
Reaching out to us over. Follow us on IG. We have a little blog and a blog page on IG where we post some activities we do, little things, little pictures, little motivational stuff, so that if you're inspired by this, you're gonna see what you can look forward to. So follow us. We put the things up there too as well in terms of tips and whatever. All right. Follow us. Blog City Trainees. Look for it on IG.
Alright, so thanks everybody.